So in looking at our heart rate zone, or know what gear we need to be in, we need to establish our heart rate max. You guys heard this equation before, 220 minus your age? It's a pretty standard equation for the industry. It's incredibly basic, right? We use it though. Say if you come to me as a beginner and say, I don't know my max, I would say, great, take this watch, and with every one of our watches, you'll program in your height, age, weight, and gender. And then on the advanced models, your activity level and or a fitness test you can take. All those metrics help calculate that maximum heart rate, right? But as a beginner, we're gonna default to that 220 minus your age so that I don't hand it to Lori as say you're a beginner. And you go outside and say, I don't want to explode on my first workout, 220 minus your age is safe. And it keeps that max a little lower. If you're more into fitness, you've been exercising for a while, you might need to use a different equation. For more athletic people, for example, men use 214 minus half your age. Women, 211 minus half your age.
Minus half your age.
Okay. And again, there's a lot of equations out there. I Googled just to kind of brush up. I found at least 10 different equations you could use or tests you could use. So bottom line is, whatever you're going to use, make sure it's somewhat reputable. Maybe talk with the trainer and say, hey, this is the zone I'm thinking about. And start that dialogue with the trainer. Would this be right for me? Maybe even consult a physician. People always say, well, where's my max? I have no idea. I'm not going to guess either, because I don't know what your level of fitness is. I don't know your experience, your risk of injury. So I want to be safe, and so does Polar. So we use that 220 minus your age first and foremost. All of them can be programmed to take in whatever max heart rate. Was that your question?
No, the worksheet you handed out has the 220 minus your age for the max heart rate for men, and 226 minus the age.
Yeah, see, I forgot that was on there. That's another different one that can be used. We use 220 minus your age as a standard for everybody. But if you have this worksheet, which is, I remember Ryan had put this out for us.
Yeah, for women, they're saying, on this particular formula, they're saying 226 because women have a naturally higher resting heart rate to begin with, on average.
So there you go.
We stress you out.
Yeah, we do. And so this worksheet that we gave, Ryan has available, and this, if you're unsure about it, this is where I would recommend getting in touch with the trainer to really help dial in those zones. Let me go forward to, there we go. So the zones. So this will make a little bit more sense. So once you have that maximum heart rate established, this is where you start to figure out where you should be physiologically. That's a starting point, right? So yeah, so if we look in our middle section here, let's take a 30-year-old as an example. 220 minus 30 gives 190 beats per minute as an estimated max. To dig a little deeper, what that means is the highest number of beats per minute an individual can achieve in an all-out effort. It's unique to the individual due to age, heredity, fitness level. It's your fingerprint. Remember, we're talking about that? It's different for everybody. Heart rate max is a useful tool in determining training intensities, which are usually expressed as percentage of heart rate max zones. And so that's where, again, this is probably the most wordy slide I found, just because this is kind of the nuts and bolts of the technology. If you want to get a little bit more specific and a more accurate heart rate max, some of our watches will give you different parameters that you can use, like a predicted max in our more advanced models, or talking to a physician or a physical therapy clinic. I know, like Ken Call at Therapeutic Associates, they do an actual VO2 max test. And if you've never heard of that before, that's basically the maximum volume of oxygen your body can consume or utilize per pump of blood to help understand where that maximum heart rate is going to be. Then all of these will make a lot more sense. And so that's what this worksheet is attempting to do. It makes it a little bit more specific than what we have here. And what this is really is 50 to 60% of said max, and that example was 190 beats. It's a very light training intensity. The goal is to help with recovery, helps speed up recovery after heavy exercise. Or you're just feeling tired, pooped, stay in zone 1 for the day, right? Zone 2, considered a light zone, 60 to 70% of your max, spending anywhere from 40 to 80 minutes. It increases your metabolism and aerobic endurance, and it strengthens your body so it tolerates higher intensity training. Again, if people have said, like a talk test when you're with your friends, you can carry on a conversation, it's pretty easy, you're not overly winded, right? I think we've all been there. Zone 3 is probably the most popular of the zones just because it's where a lot of your good work starts. You're pushing your body to 70 to 80% of your max, spending anywhere from 10 to 40. Now, if you're really into athletics and you're maybe a track and field runner, cross country, or endurance cyclist, you'll be in zone 3, zone 4 a little bit more frequently than the rest of us. It really just depends on your goal. But that's where you're enhancing aerobic power and improving blood circulation, right? Zone 4 is hard, anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes. Again, the more your fitness level advances, the more time you can spend there. But that's 80 to 90% of your max potential. And then zone 5 is your max. Really, it's just designed maybe like for the Olympics, 100-yard sprint, boom, you're full tilt, you're in zone 5. If you're not, you're probably not gonna be performing to your best. So, tones the neuromuscular system and increases maximum sprint race speed. Again, whatever sport you've chosen. Is that gonna make sense? Okay. This zone I put up there, or this sheet, because it tends to get a little bit more explanation. Again, zone 1, it's the easiest, probably the best for people just starting their fitness program. The next part of that sentence deals with fueling. Remember we talked about nutrition and fuel that you would put into your body? Well, once you have that fuel in your body, it's stored as glycogen or fat stores. That's what we tap into to keep our bodies in motion. 50 to 60% of your calories come from fat during that zone. It takes a little bit longer to break down versus glycogen is more immediate when you're down at the higher end zones. So you can utilize more fat as fuel. In zone 2, provides the same benefit as a healthy heart zone, but more intense and burns more total calories. 40 to 60, you notice it goes a little lower than 50 to 60. 40 to 60% are coming from fat. Again, those numbers change from individual to individual, so take these as a generalization. Then you have the aerobic zone. The aerobic zone improves your cardiovascular and respiratory system and increases the size and strength of your heart. This is the preferred zone if you're training for an endurance event. Drops down a little bit, less of your calories coming from fat, more of your calories coming from glycogen, stored sugars within your muscles in your body. Aerobic zone, 80 to 90%. Again, we're talking about including an improved VO2 max, highest amount of oxygen one can consume during exercise, improving your cardiorespiratory system. But now we're down to 15 to 25% fat generally, so a lot less fat stores because you need your fuel a lot quicker. Glycogen breaks down a lot quicker, so that's where your fuel is coming from. You all have probably been working out before where your body kind of slows down real suddenly, where it's like fuel is gone, you're done, you can't keep your body moving. That's your glycogen stores going away because you were spending maybe a little too much time here. Maybe you were supposed to, coach or trainer said to, but that's what you're experiencing. And then the red line, most of your fuel is coming from glycogen there. So when we look at this, a lot of times people say, well, awesome, I just want to be in the fat burning zone, right? And that's where trainers, we say, what?
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
Caught me off guard.
What would you say, Lord, to somebody who says, I want to spend all my time in that fat burning zone?
I mean, we need to mix it up.
Perfect, you said it
Mix up,
perfectly.
Do some of that, and we'll do some of this, and some of those, and
So what I put down at the bottom is actually results from my own exercise files. Pretty close exercise duration. So can you all see that in the back? So there was an exercise, 123 or an hour and 23 minutes. I was in zone 1. Just wife and I were walking for a while. Burned 374 calories. My profile said that 52% of my calories came from fat, or essentially 194 calories, which is good.
great.
I still burned more calories at 374. So as my body was burning fuel. If weight loss was my goal, I would say, hey, thumbs up, Josh. I didn't hurt myself. It was low intensity. Could I be doing better? Sure. So the other exercise, an hour and 19 minutes, I burned 772 calories. 23% came from fat, or 177 calories. average heart rate was 132 versus 98, and I was in zones 2, 3, and 4, and even spread. And so I bring that up to show you that similar duration, definitely different intensity, can take the same amount of calories, really close amount of calories from fat, but because I was at a higher intensity here, my recovery is a little longer. So chances are that number is going to go up, and I burned a lot more calories during that higher intensity exercise. So hopefully that helps you understand to not be afraid of that higher intensity exercise, thinking you're not going to burn fat. You will, and potentially even more than the lighter exercise. So to stay in a fat burning zone isn't always what you need. Recovery days, sure. Long and slow endurance days, sure. But to really get your body doing what you need it to be doing, don't be afraid of that higher intensity exercise. Number one question I get when I'm doing trade shows and expos is, where should I be? And I think I've already said it. I say, I have no idea. What are your goals? What are you hoping to accomplish? And that's where we would sit down and depends. What's your goal? Weight loss, pretty popular one here at the club. A lot of folks come to use trainers or talk with Ryan. Say, I want to lose weight. Great. Some might say I want to gain strength, because you always work out in your business suit and shorts. That's a picture.
That must be your slideshow, you made, I can tell. That's yours, I can see
That's
that.
right. Or general life fitness, healthy improvement of just day-to-day living. Everybody's goal is different, but we can help figure out what that goal is going to be. Everybody has this answer, so this is another test question, where everybody has this as part of their programming. So, yeah, what is the spice of life?
Variety.
Writing?
Variety.
Variety.
So, depending on the crowd, I'll give my popular answers. Chocolate's a big one. Sex is another one. But I usually get
Red wine.
But variety, that is the spice of life. That's a quote, I was raised on. If you don't have variety, I put that guy up there because if you do the same thing day in and day out, you're not going to experience results. And in fact, you'll probably hit the proverbial wall. Your body just has adapted. It won't respond like you need it to. So you need high intensity days, low intensity days. Mix it up, right? And that's the case for everybody. No one is exempt from that. If you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got, right? Regardless of your profession. And the second one, if you do the same thing repeatedly and expect different results every time, I've heard that's the definition of insanity. So you need to work on incorporating different modes of training. So let's learn about you. What can you possibly learn from wearing a heart rate monitor? Again, as I mentioned, you program in your height, age, weight, and gender. So you have all that in there. It's learning about you. It will give you your exercise duration at the end, total calories you burned, but what you burned accurately, because you're putting in your gender, you're putting in your height, age, and weight. I went upstairs just to kind of take a peek at all the fitness equipment again, from Precor to Life to Cybex. They're all pretty much the same. They only asked me, one of them asked, how much do you weigh, and that was it. The other one said, how old are you and how much do you weigh? Two of them said, how old am I and how much do I weigh?
Right,
So am I a man? Am I a woman?
right.
Am I 6'2", 5'1"?
Right.
Huge difference. So to go by what the equipment says, that can be a pretty challenging bit of results for people that are exercising.
Are they all on based on a certain?
A generic equation, yeah, at best. And so that's, I'm pretty sure I put that in one of my other slides. I'll touch on that a little bit more. But yeah, it's very, very generic. And so I remember it's coming up.
Okay.
So we'll answer that. How much time you spend in each zone. So again, like on a cardio program, I think it was the Life Fitness bike. So I programmed in my age, and that was it. And it said, hey, what's your target heart rate? I don't know. I don't have a trainer. So if I just say 130, great. If that's my max that the machine thinks is my potential, that's all I'm going to do for my exercise today. Is that what I need? Should I have been at 170 beats per minute? Or maybe I have a heart issue and doctor said don't go above 130 and I should be at 119. Those are the kinds of things that I would need to know, but starting with this it's going to make a much more appropriate recommendation for where your body needs to be. And then it will show you how much time you spend in those zones so that you can do your appropriate workout. In our upper end watches, you get what's called a training benefit, and this is probably one of my favorite features. So I do a lot of expos, and I get a lot of people that come up to me and ask the questions I mentioned: where should I be? What should I program it for? When we say, okay, we don't know, but we're going to learn about you, and they usually say, I'm a beginner. It's too much for me. It's too much technology. Show of hands, how many of you have a smartphone? So I don't buy the too much technology answer anymore, because we can multitask, we can spend time and learn about the phone. Well, guess what this watch is going to help you do? After every exercise, it's going to give you what's called a training benefit. One of 17 different messages that will range from recovery training up to tempo to maximal training plus. And guess what? This training increased your aerobic tolerance and improved your maximal oxygen uptake and efficiency. It also raised the speed you can maintain without building up lactic acid. Carbohydrates are the main energy source. Remember, we talked about carbs versus fat source. So that your body uses at this training intensity. Awesome. I just learned about my body and what I can do. Going through that is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, is start to teach yourself about the one machine that's important. You're going to put your phone away, or you're going to drop it and break it. You're stuck with your body. Why not learn about it? So by working out day to day, you'll start to get familiar with these messages and what they mean. So what if you see the same message every day? What's wrong with that?
No variety, no spice of life.
Thank you.
Hitting that brick wall. Oh,
So
Thank you.
that's exactly right. You need to see different messages, right? You need to see low intensity, high intensity, how your week and monthly goals are progressing. All of that can be incorporated into your training program. But even the basics will start to teach you that kind of information, even when you got the FT6.